Hello, I'm Tessie Muskrat-Rickabaugh from the University of Missouri-Columbia, and this is my poster, Being Yourself is a Sin, a qualitative analysis of the impact of evangelical Christian purity culture on sexual minorities. Purity culture is an evangelical Christian approach to teaching sexual ethics to adolescents and is closely connected to abstinence-only sex education. An emphasis on the preservation of virginity and strict sexual ethics has existed in various forms within Christianity for millennia, but the movement known as purity culture arose in the early 1990s with the advent of large-scale purity movements such as True Love Waits, founded by the Southern Baptist Convention, and the Silver Ring Thing. These movements impacted millions of teens around the world. Purity culture contains several key elements, including an emphasis on modest clothing for girls and women, strict performance of the gender binary, the teaching that virginity is a fragile gift to be saved for marriage, the belief that sexual exploration is dangerous and can result in STI, pregnancy, and relationship damage, and the invalidating of any type of relationship outside of monogamous heterosexual marriage. Academic research on purity culture is limited, though it is a growing field, and there have been a number of recent non-academic publications in which people share their experiences with purity culture. The research presented in this poster is part of a larger IRB-approved mixed methods research project on purity culture, and this project asks the question, how did LGBTQ folks experience purity culture, and how are they being impacted by it today? For this project, 12 semi-structured interviews were selected from a pool of 47 interviews performed between July and December of 2020. Interviewees responded to a flyer advertising this research project posted on the various social media platforms known to serve people who had been exposed to purity culture. The flyer led to a landing page where participants could volunteer to be interviewed, fill out a survey, or both. To date, 1,420 surveys have been collected, and quantitative analysis of these surveys will begin this fall. Participants whose interviews are being analyzed for this project indicated their sexuality or gender were impacted by purity culture and chose at least one non-heterosexual identity label on their survey. All interviewees were between 21 and 40 years of age. Interviews followed an interview protocol and lasted between 26 minutes and 1 hour 30 minutes. Interviews were transcribed, de-identified, coded, and analyzed by a team of 4 researchers from the University of Missouri. Domains were developed according to consensual qualitative research methodology informed by the theoretical framework of feminist therapy and focused on the presence or absence of power in the somatic, religious, internal, and relational areas of participants' lives. Experiences of oppression and the internalization of oppressive messages were also analyzed. All findings were audited by both internal and external auditors. Our research finds that this group of sexual and gender minorities were impacted by purity culture messaging, which teaches that deviations from the gender binary or the heterosexual norm are evil, unnatural, and sinful. Sexual desire was viewed as wrong, and masturbation was presented as something abnormal or unnatural for people assigned female at birth to experience. Struggles with sexual desire and masturbation produced a variety of symptomatic or distressing behaviors, such as over or under eating, risky sexual behavior, excessive alcohol consumption, and fervent religious involvement. Participants intentionally concealed their body to avoid providing a sexual temptation to men and concealed their sexuality in a variety of ways, including engaging in performance of heterosexuality to mask same-sex attraction. Participants experienced a persistent fear of damnation for their sexuality and orientation, sometimes had difficulty recognizing their own sexual orientation, and delayed coming out. Participants internalized negative beliefs about being a member of a sexual or gender minority and felt shame for experiencing sexual desire or experimenting sexually. For all participants, deconstruction or reinterpretation of religious beliefs correlated to a decrease in sexual shame and an increased acceptance of their own bodies, sexual desire, gender diversity, and orientation. Participants have had to work to intentionally reclaim their power and find healing sexually, relationally, spiritually, and in relationship to their own bodies. Therapy has been an important part of many participants' healing journey, and several participants emphasize the importance of finding a therapist who is well-versed on the impact of religious trauma and purity culture. Many participants engaged in research and self-education to overcome knowledge deficits they attribute to the limited exposure allowed by purity culture. Participants studied reproductive and sexual health, sexuality, biblical history and language, and other scientific topics such as evolution. Participants with children teach their children about sex in non-judgmental ways that they hope will break the cycle of shame that they experienced. Purity culture has impacted and continues to influence the psychic development of millions of adults, many who now struggle with lingering sexual shame, body image issues, and sexual identity challenges. Although less prominent than in the 1990s and early 2000s, purity culture lingers in many churches, and its tenets are present in abstinence-only sex education in public schools, the continued shaming of girls and women for clothing choices deemed too revealing, laws about sexual assault, and gender-based school dress codes. Clinicians, counselors, and therapists may benefit from increased knowledge about the impact of purity culture, as such information can help them to conceptualize clients presenting with concerns that may have originated, at least in part, in the client's experiences with purity culture. I wish to thank the McNair Scholars Program of the University of Missouri, the Missouri Honors College, Peggy and Andrew Chern, and the Panda Charitable Foundation, and my mentor, Dr. Francisco J. Sanchez, for their support in this project.